You got Superman, Supergirl, Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and they're all being led by Peacemaker? Hi everyone, welcome to Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to the channel and a fan of the DCU and looking forward to the future of the DCU, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be talking about it and discussing it with all of you for the foreseeable future. And I have been. You can check out my review of Peacemaker episode 3. Another Rick up my sleeve. I posted that last night. You can check that out on the channel. That show is so much fun. Looking forward to the future of it, where it goes from here, and how, of course, it leads into the DCU as a whole. We've heard this for months now, that Peacemaker is going to lead up into the DCU. It's going to establish something so chaotic that they're going to need the whole of the Justice Gang and Superman and all of them to deal with this crisis. Whatever it is, Peacemaker and the 11th Street Kids aren't up to it. They got something bigger going on. I don't think that's the case. I think whatever they're going to deal with, they're going to deal with, and there'll be something smaller in the background that's going to escalate and going to lead us into more storylines in the DCU. But I got to bring this up because I do talk about this often, and James Gunn talks about it often as well. And the other day, actually 2 days ago, he announced Man of Tomorrow being the next film in the Super Saga, the Superman Saga, the Super Saga, the DCU, right? We're going to go Clayface, Supergirl, and now we're going to get Man of Tomorrow. Obviously, Lanterns is in there, but that's a series, so I'm separating that for separation purposes. After he announced that 2 days ago, a fan took to him on social media and said that they were confused. That he said he wasn't going to do a Superman sequel right away, that he was working on something that Superman was a part of, and he said that doesn't make any sense if this is a sequel, to which Mr. James Gunn replied that it is not a direct sequel, but Superman is heavily involved. That's paraphrasing, of course, what he said. So that means that this is not Superman 2. So the events of Superman we'll feel those events in this, but it's not a direct sequel to Superman, kind of like Batman v Superman isn't a direct sequel to Man of Steel. It is, but it's not. So maybe we're going something like that. Something that I think he's a little wary on saying, and it's coming after Supergirl. So the events of Supergirl and Superman feel like they're going to bleed into whatever we're getting in Man of Tomorrow, plus the events of Peacemaker. Because yesterday, over on the socials, he also had this to say, promoting episode 3 of Peacemaker. He posted this picture of John Cena, and he said that tonight is the prequel to Man of Tomorrow, aka Peacemaker, the prequel to Man of Tomorrow. James Gunn getting cheeky with his fans online, which is nothing new. Of course he's going to do that. And of course, Peacemaker is technically a prequel to Man of Tomorrow because it takes place in the DCU. So nothing in Peacemaker even has to connect to what's going to happen in Man of Tomorrow. It's still technically a prequel to the movie because they're in a shared universe. And once you have shared universes, as long as they're in the chronological order, that would make it a prequel of sorts. But I do think there's more to that post than meets the eye. Actually, no, I think it's exactly what meets the eye. I think James Gunn is being honest. This is a prequel to that movie that I'm doing, and you're going to find out why later on. He said many times, episode 6 and episode 8.
My favorite things I've ever done are episode 6 and episode 8 of anything. And I just can't wait for people to see them.
The 6 and 8 have cameos that are going to blow your mind. They're some of the favorite stuff he's ever done, ever. And I can understand that, being a fan of this series, seeing what he puts into this series. This is his heart and soul. This is his best work. Peacemaker, point blank, is his best work. Superman was great. The Suicide Squad, fantastic. Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the best trilogies probably in the MCU, probably the best trilogy of the MCU. But Peacemaker is where James Gunn shines and does his best work. But this season is missing something. Something that James Gunn loves. And that's Murn. Played by Chukwudi Iwuji. James Gunn is a big fan of his work. Obviously cast him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But he's not anywhere to be seen in Season 2 for obvious reasons. But that brings us into Man of Tomorrow and the big cameos that are going to blow people away in episode 6 and episode 8, specifically episode 6, he says. I think Murn is on his way back, and I think we're going to learn that Murn is not actually Murn. And I don't think the title Man of Tomorrow is a coincidence. Now, of course, we all know Superman is Man of Tomorrow. That is his name, Man of Tomorrow. He couldn't do Man of Steel, obviously. But Man of Tomorrow is promising to be something that it's not. It's not a sequel to Superman, but it's called Man of Tomorrow. but it's not a sequel to Superman. It's very confusing. But Man of Tomorrow was also an animated film from 2020 that came out, which featured characters like Superman, Lobo. The villain, of course, was Parasite, a villain that I could definitely see James Gunn taking in and utilizing and creating something very magical with a character like Parasite, right up James Gunn's alley and right up the alley of Superman and where Superman left us off. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do a direct remake of this animated film. Of course not. And again, the title, coincidental, of course. But if you look at the aspects of it, like I said, Lobo, Parasite, and Martian Manhunter, it starts to come full circle. Months ago, I saw some posts online that people were speculating that Martian Manhunter might actually be Myrn, that Myrn might be Martian Manhunter, and that could be the way James Gunn gets Martian Manhunter in. I'm on board with that. Now, when that rumor was first going out and about, I was kind of like, okay, sure. But as time goes on, you see James Gunn throwing in hints of Martian Manhunter, expressing his love for the character, and of course, Myrn himself, and bringing him back, bringing the whole team together, making that team complete. Even though it's not technically the same Myrn, I think that's where you want to go with this. I think that is where he could go with this. Now, maybe he brings back Chukwudi Iwuji and he's not playing Martian Manhunter. That's also a possibility. And or he brings him back and he's not Myrn. Like they pretend that he wasn't Myrn and they cut that out because I believe, if I remember correctly, the previously on kind of like hides Myrn away. Doesn't show you too much Myrn, not revealing too much of what went on with Myrn there. So they could get away, they could work around it like that as well. Like, no, you misremember what I look like. I didn't look like that at all. They could go that route. Now, because I think Martian Manhunter is coming in. That animated series, like I said, Lobo coming right in. You got Jason Momoa, his role, probably a small role in Supergirl. Bring him over into Man of Tomorrow, have a bigger role there, have him grow. And Parasite just feels like the perfect villain for this sequel. In Superman, Gunn shaped up the story to be about Clark establishing himself as Earth's protector while balancing his humanity with his alien heritage. It introduced us to Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner, so already Superman isn't alone. He's entering a world filled with superheroes and super threats. That movie was about Superman earning back the trust of the world, but also drawing the suspicion from people like Lex Luthor, who of course was imprisoned. Now, we jump over a few years to Man of Tomorrow coming out in 2027. Let's speculate a little here. This is not a sequel, but a follow-up, as I said, and it could build directly on the same themes that we got in Superman. In the animated Man of Tomorrow, Superman fought Parasite, a villain who literally feeds off Superman's powers. That's a great metaphor for Superman learning what it means to have his abilities tested. In Man of Tomorrow, Lex Luthor could take that idea one step further. If aliens like Superman or monsters like Parasite can threaten humanity, then humanity needs its own champion. And who better than Lex Luthor in his Warsuit? And Lex in his Warsuit also ties into Hawkgirl. In that movie, obviously, Hawkgirl kills somebody. She flat out commits murder, and James Gunn says there's going to be repercussions for that as well. And Guy Gardner, he's kind of a loose cannon. Mr. Terrific, he's calm, cool, and collected, but there's going to be repercussions for their actions, and Lex Luthor might be the one to try to stop them, to convince the leaders of the world that he is the one that has the capability to do so, and that Warsuit is what will get him there and get him out of prison and earn the trust back from the citizens of the world and from the world leaders as well, because I do think Lex Luthor will become a massive figure in the DCU. Obviously, I think we all know that, and a big villain at play, but to get there, he's got to get out of prison, and I think he has to be trusted by humanity on some level as well, and this is one step further to getting him there. I could be wrong, but that's where I kind of see that happening. But I think Parasite is a perfect villain for this. He's not mainstream media, he's James Gunn level. Now, Parasite could be the villain in Peacemaker Season 2 for all we know. I don't know what powers he would steal. I guess he would have a perfect shot if he stole Peacemaker's powers, but I do think James Gunn will use a villain like that because he has Lex Luthor in his back pocket. You have that at play, so you bring someone else in, someone smaller like that you can utilize and use to your advantage to help progress the story and progress Clark Kent's story and also Kara's story. So you can progress both of their stories by just having this one villain who feeds off their powers. And of course, Lobo's going to be flying around. Jason Momoa is going to be kicking. I can't wait to see Jason Momoa as Lobo. Those are my thoughts on the new development going on with Man of Tomorrow. More is going to come. They're starting to shoot this next summer for a release the following summer. 2027 is going to rock. We've got the third film in the Spider-Verse franchise coming. Then we're going to have Man of Tomorrow. Then we get Batman. Then we get Avengers Doomsday. nonstop action for 6 months in 2027. I can't wait. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and until next time, may you be the master of your own universe.